So Agile UX, or as the cool kids call it, user-centered agile software development. What is it? So Agile UX is kind of like trying to blend in user-centered design approach to software development and agile software development. They're not necessarily like conflicting with one another. They're more like designed for different purposes, or at least arose out of a different need. And so with user UX, you're looking at a methodology that focuses on the end user. Think like Apple products, where the user is the only thing that matters. That's kind of like the mindset, right? And Agile is more think like business software development, where I need the application and I need it like right now because things are happening in the markets. So I don't have time for you to like go through your waterfall process. And so Agile kind of start arising out of that need to like, hey, requirements will change. We don't know what they are. Let's get what we get right now and start working on stuff and like work on little increment steps, and we can kick those out and then get feedback. Both systems rely heavily on feedback mechanism for both design and development portions of it. So that's kind of like their where they fit nicely, like a jigsaw puzzle. But before we kind of like sail off into the sunset of software development, they do have some like I want to say like discontinuities between the two. So UCD is usability focused, meaning like that again, user centered, user interface really is what people are usually talking about. And that consists of upfront evaluation, understanding what the user preferences are, what they like, kind of like the Google videos that you see in the modules. And the example I put is like, think iPod. Steve Jobs has been known to be like obsessed about like user experience, but it led to a very rapid adoption of like Apple products and very intuitive kind of like design, right? Uh, Agile software development, on the other hand, is more like not necessarily discards like usability, but it focuses on usefulness. And so think like business kind of mindset approach to software development, low initial design, low initial like planning, where it's like, hey, let's get the party started. And the kind of like the example that I'd give to kind of paint an image is think like SAP. If you use SAP at work or any ERP system, it's very functional, it's very useful. It's awesome if everybody knows how to use it and you understand, like actually understand how the thing is set up in the background. The problem with it is though that a lot of times people, even the power users, they really just know how to like click one button to get the result they need. And so it's not very intuitive. It's not very easy to train people on either. It takes a little bit. So in terms of what's like driving blending in the two methodologies, because they kind of work together, but they kind of don't. And so one of the things is I'll kind of start from how to adopt it to, and that is design one sprint ahead. Is the common theme that I saw in some of the papers I was reading. And the idea is to stagger your agile or scrum teams and your UX design teams. And UX design should be like one step ahead. And it's supposed to work pretty well in terms of integrating the two so they don't like conflict with one another. So UX goes out, gathers the next requirements, while Agile is like working on the functionality of your software uh, and fixing the bugs. Collaboration and compromise. So one of the adoption case studies I was reading was talking about like the Scrum Master wasn't really happy because the UX designers are almost like too obsessive and interfering with being able to kick out product on time, and because they were like obsessed about button design or something. So collaboration and compromise is really another mindset that you'll kind of have to adopt for both parties, not just the ASD or UCD people. It's kind of like both have to compromise and be reasonable. And the last but not least is actually rapid adoption, which is like goes to like the methodology change, like what's driving this. And the idea is this: the new bottleneck in the software like value creation in general is not software development, and it's not even hardware anymore, because like I can spin up like a borderline a supercomputer with like Azure and have like biometric login on my phone. But what's really the problem is that users are not adopting it really quickly. And so now like Agile has fixed that one problem that we had with waterfall, where it just takes too long to get the product out. And now you're kicking out like these apps daily in some cases, even weekly or even monthly, but it takes the users like forever to adopt it, right? Like you ask an average person what they know about Office 365 and they'll say, oh, I know a lot. And now ask the same question, but add this. Tell me about one application in Office 365 that does not include Outlook, Excel, Word, or PowerPoint. And all of a sudden, you'll get some people that will tell you like Power Apps, where you can build your own stuff, automate things. There's all sorts of like task organizers and all sorts of other apps because all these things are built, but the users just don't have the time to adopt some of these things. So the new bottleneck in getting the usefulness out of the software is not getting it, and it's not the hardware, but it's the user adoption. And so that's why it's kind of driving that idea of blending in user interface design people into the process, because the faster your users can adopt, the more value you're going to get out of your software. And in some cases, like users adopting it quickly is becoming like the new norm. Like they have to adopt it quickly to stay competitive or stay ahead. And so how you can use like change model to help out with this entire like crazy process of 21st century and everything moving at 100 miles an hour. So if you kind of notice right away, external variables is like the need to just generally adopt software and be very quick for everybody in your organization to include the end user. The way you fit the TAM model into this is that you see that ASD or Agile fits in under perceived usefulness. So like the users have to find the software actually useful, kind of like think SAP. Like SAP is useful. I know it's useful. But they also have to perceive the ease of use. They have to find that to be very high. So they have to kind of like have that user-centered approach. And you can use this model because it emphasizes that both are needed for the eventual outcome, which is the actual system use that you're trying to accomplish. Like nobody cares if your organization builds or adopts some software and nobody uses it because it's worthless and you're probably losing money because you just spend a whole lot of time and effort, integrating the thing into your systems. So I thought that the TAM model kind of highlighted the two concepts between perceived usefulness, which is kind of focus of Agile, and perceived ease of use, which is UX, and that's kind of blending the two is what's driving the Agile UX. So that's pretty much it. Thanks.